Yeah.
Mel is live on my channel. I was like, you need to come onto my channel and like talk, because I've been watching his live streams lately, and like you talk about all these things like racism and abuse and relationships and like all these kind of things, and I feel like on my channel I've been talking about more like controversial things too lately.
Nothing wrong with it. I mean, sometimes the people, as long as you have an open mind about it, it shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, the time when you can't actually begin to see each other and hear each other's point of view, that's when it becomes an issue. Now it's just a divisive situation. And who wants that? Not everybody's going to agree, but you know what, at least you could have a conversation and move things forward.
Right, exactly. I feel like we agree though on like the topic of racism, because honestly, well, I was commenting, but I didn't really have the chance to elaborate on it. But I love what you said about how, I mean, clearly racism still exists in our country.
Yeah,
it's 2017, and you think it shouldn't. Like, my personal beliefs is like every person is created equal with equal dignity. Nothing can make that go up or down. That's just the truth. Like, it doesn't matter how small you are, how sick you are, what color you are, how old you are, whatever it is about you, like, we're all equal. But the thing is, we live in a society where, unfortunately, people don't see it that way.
Yeah, that's true.
And so I think it's important to kind of like talk about things like racism, because it's such a problem still. Like, it should not be a problem. You would think that we're moving past this, and you said how it's like 2017 and there's other things we can be worried about, like the color of someone's skin, like that's gonna make you hate someone or cause violence. And I was watching a Katie Couric documentary. She's actually, she went to UVA, and she was interviewing people about it. And I always thought racism was passed down. Like, say you're in a family and your parents are super racist and they kind of raise you that way, but there were some guys there who, I don't know where they got this from, but they're like, yeah, my parents, Katie Couric was asking them, what do your parents think about this? And they were like, oh yeah, my parents don't agree with this, but I'm out here anyway. And I'm like, where did you learn this from? Like, who taught you how to hate people?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that happens. People get it from their parents a lot of times.
A lot of times, yeah, but the other times that they don't, I'm just wondering. I'm like, I don't know where this comes from and why are people like this? And to me, it really goes back to the problem of not seeing someone as human. I actually commented this on your thing too, of how back in the day when slavery was a thing, white people didn't see black people as people. They were just these foreign, like, not humans, just like, I don't want to say objects, like monsters, aliens,
it was like
foreigners.
A fraction of a human being. You know, you weren't even seen as a whole person, you know, like a whole man or anything, or a whole woman. You know, and it's kind of sad that people still, you know, have those views, and you know, to a large extent. That's why you have such a divisive nation now. You know, even a lot of things in this world, it doesn't make sense. But people hang on to these ideologies, and it's passed on through the generations.
Exactly.
And that's why you have these issues that persist now.
Still to this day, like, these things have just been passed on and on and on. And I'm wondering, like, when is it gonna stop? Like, when? I don't know. It's like I was in church tonight, and the priest was saying, like, he doesn't have us, like, what's the solution, you know? Like, we can only fix ourselves and like love each other ourselves, but you can't fix someone else or change or like force someone else to see things the way you do or see things a certain way. So it's like, what's the solution, you know? Like, what do we do? And I think talking about it is a good thing, because that way people become more open-minded about it too, and being friends and not judging people who look different than you, and just listening to people's stories and gaining a broader perspective of the world. And I think a main reason why I moved to New York City is so I could be around a lot of different types of people that I maybe used to not come from, not to be around. Yeah, like to just be around people who grew up different than you, think different than you, different like backgrounds, and get to know them, and like, oh, they're people too. Like, hello, we're all people. We're not, you know, we don't have to be so divided and like in our own little bubbles.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, as far as race is concerned, I mean, things don't change if people are not really willing to hear each other and see each other as human beings first. You don't have to agree on everything. You don't have to share the same ideologies, go to the same churches, you know, have the same type of lifestyles. But to see each other as human beings, you know, does us a great service as humanity. And when we don't, you know, we just divide even more and become, you know, a type of world where you can't even recognize it anymore. And who wants that?
I love what you said too about how by judging someone first, it kind of does you a disservice of getting to know other cultures, because if you just kind of like say if I see like an Asian person, I'm just like, oh, I don't talk to anyone. It's like I'm missing out on like a beautiful culture I could never otherwise know about, because I'm just like shutting that down right away because I see how someone looks, or like whatever race or color they are. Like, I love how you didn't say just black and white, but you said like Native American, Asian, Hispanic. Like, we kind of think so like black and white in America sometimes, and it's like there's so many other cultures out there too that no one ever even talks about, you know?
Yeah.
And
well, some people don't like to get into, you know, because it goes into the all lives matter thing, and
oh my gosh. Okay.
and
wait.
nobody wants to
Can
have
we
that
talk
debate.
about that too?
Yeah, fine.
So, in my mind, like, of course, all lives matter. Like, yes, we're all created equal. All lives matter. But as I was saying earlier, our culture doesn't see it that way. And I think a huge, one of the biggest misconceptions about Black Lives Matter is that a lot of people in the All Lives Matter movement are like, oh, well, black people want to be better than us and stuff. And I'm like, no, this is the way it is. White people are here. Black people are like, I'm not saying below, but just like how our society is. Black Lives Matter means Black Lives Matter, White Lives Matter.
Well,
not Black Lives Matter more. You know what I mean?
Well, no. The thing with Black Lives Matter, it's not that the Black Lives Matter movement are not trying to say that the rest of the lives don't matter.
Exactly.
What they're trying to say is that because so many black lives are being killed and slaughtered in the streets unfairly, unjustly, that this is something that has to be highlighted even in 2017.
It's necessary. It's like to lift up a group that needs to be lifted up. It's not like saying we're better and like all other lives are worse. And the thing about like white supremacy is they're saying their lives are better than everyone else, which is not. They think it's like, oh, well, Black Lives Matter thinks better. I'm like, no, that means equal, because we're not equal right now, clearly. You know how like our culture is?
The thing with Black Lives Matter, like you said, it turns people off because it's like, okay, some people feel like, you know, black lives are better than any and every other lives. And I think it's maybe a misinterpretation of the perception.
Yeah.
No one life is better than others. But if you're a black person, I'm a black person, and I feel somebody who's Caucasian or of another persuasion is being treated better, I have to highlight that my life matters as well. And that turns people off. You know, I mean, I'm not going to say black lives don't matter, but at the same time, I'm not going to say white lives and red lives, or, you know, some people say blue lives. That's controversial.
Yeah.
I mean, it all matters. It's just that you're trying to figure out how much. You're trying to figure out to who. You're trying to figure out why. Why is this like this? And people just want to be heard. You know, so when you hear Black Lives Matter, don't try to be turned off by it. I say, find out what people actually mean when they say Black Lives Matter, and don't be quick to be offended by it. Don't be quick to judge. Don't be quick to just dismiss it.
Yeah, because when I first heard Black Lives Matter, I remember being like so heartbroken. Like, what? Like, people think their life doesn't matter. Like, everyone's life matters. Like, what do you mean Black Lives Matter already? But like, obviously, like, we live in a society where things happen, things keep happening, and we need to talk about it, because otherwise, if you just sweep things under the rug, it's like how you were saying, if we don't address it now, it just gets passed on to the future generations, and we don't like to talk about it. Because I was actually telling him before, I filmed a whole video talking about racism after like Trayvon Martin happened, and I was just so like devastated, and I was talking to my friend, like we stayed up all night talking, went to Starbucks, got coffee as it opened, like the sun was rising and we were like still talking about everything. And I filmed this whole video, and I'm like, I'm not gonna post this because it's too controversial and people are gonna judge me and it's gonna be too like out there. But I've reached a point in life where I'm like, we need to talk about things, we need to be open and listen to each other and express our opinions, and also listen to the opinions of other people too. And we all just need to come together, because we can't just be this like divided country anymore. And it's, the thing is, I feel like the media tries to divide us. They like don't want to see us together talking about this right now. They want to see us like fighting and like, oh, we hate each other. And
well,
like,
that's part of it too. But also I say this to you: if you don't speak about these things, you're still going to be judged anyway. You know, people are going to judge you based off your appearance. I get judged based off my appearance on a regular basis. You know.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's another thing we can talk about too, is how people judge us. Like, say, so I know a lot of people don't want to say that white privilege exists, and like it's.
You want me to hold that?
Oh sure.
Yeah.
My arm is like getting tired. So white privilege, I'm sorry, white people watching this, like it does exist. I can give you examples in my life where I've noticed my privilege, I guess. I hate that word. Like it's just like, I mean, obviously it's just like, it makes us feel bad. Like I feel bad being like, oh, I'm born privileged. But it's true. It's honestly, I remember in my neighborhood, I was on the corner waiting for a taxi, like put my arm up. There was like a black couple and they were dressed well. Like they were nice looking. And then there was another black guy in front of me, and there was me. In New York City, it's really rude to go in front of someone and put your arm up and get a taxi when you clearly see someone waiting. So I like went behind them. I'm like, okay, I'll let them go first. Next taxi that came by passed them and stopped at me. And I was like, I felt so bad. I was like, I know, obviously, because they were like, obviously. So I was like feeling really bad about it, and the guy next to me, I'm like, dude, like come take the taxi with me, like I'll share the taxi with you, whatever, and he was just like, didn't want to talk to me, was like annoyed and mad, and I'm like, I just feel so bad because these things like keep happening, and I see things happen, and it's like, what do I do about it? And I feel like in these situations we need to like call it out and confront like taxi drivers who do that. There was one time I actually filmed a documentary. And this is another time it happened to me. I was with a group of friends, like everyone was black except for me, all like wearing hoodies and like jeans and stuff, and the taxi driver came. I was like getting a taxi home, and it didn't stop because it saw them, and then it saw me, and my friend was like, oh no, we're not taking it, it's just her. And then after that, then he stopped for me. And so I got in the taxi, and I was kind of like, so I was asking him, I'm like, is there a reason why you would, you know, pick certain passengers over others? Like, what's the reason why you wouldn't stop for them and you would stop for me? And then he was telling me stories of how he got stabbed before, people robbed him, all this stuff happened to him. And I'm like, I get that things happen and our experiences shape us, but at the same time, we shouldn't go through life judging every single person who looks that way, who's gonna do that to us. You know, I think we should give people benefit of the doubt when we can. Because I have to even check myself sometimes, because like I've been robbed before by this guy who was black, and then after that, like I was like beaten and stuff, and I had to rewire my brain a little, because every time I went to the subway and I saw a guy who looked like him, I hate to like admit this, but I'm just being honest here, I saw a guy who fits what he looked like, and I get a little nervous. I'm like, oh my gosh, what if like he does that to me? And I had to retrain myself. It was like a PTSD kind of thing. It's like when something really traumatic happens to you, you're scarred by that, and then you go forward being like, oh my gosh, it can happen again by this person. And I'm like, this guy is still out there. Like the police didn't catch him. He's just out there somewhere. So this guy could be anyone, you know? But I need to stop. And I told myself, I'm like, don't, you know, like, don't be racist. It's just so bad. But
well, I mean, you challenge yourself. You know, at the end of the day, everybody is each, you know, individually different. Somebody looks like me could be that type of person, and then there could be somebody, you know, that looks, you know, like somebody that you trust that could rob you. You never know who it is. It's more about the content of the person's character than the color of their skin or how they look. But unfortunately, we live in a society that judges you based on how you look. You know, that judges you based on how you sound and how you appear in certain ways. And we have to constantly fight those stereotypes. I too, you know, have to fight those different stereotypes each day. You know, but, you know, getting over it is about calling it out. Like you said, even with the cab drivers, you call it out, you address it, you don't let it pass.
Exactly. I've learned to do this because in the past, I've been kind of more, I'm a very non-confrontational kind of person. Like I hate confrontation, I hate confronting people. But when it's like a racist thing, I call it out and I'm like, I question it. I'm like, why? You know, why are you? There was a time so I was at work and this guy came to my register and there was like a Muslim woman, only covered fully, only her eyes were showing, and she was paying at the register next to me. She got her stuff left and the guy at my register was like, oh my gosh, I'm so scared. I'm so glad we're okay. She could have like bombed this whole place. And I was like, I thought he was joking at first, like that's not really funny, but whatever. I like brushed it off. And then he was actually scared. Like the look on his face was actually scared. I'm like, you're afraid of this woman because of like what you see in the news and kind of stuff like that, you know? It's just so bad. I'm like, and this happens I'm trying to think of like other situations to like give examples, because it happens all the time and I've seen it and experienced it, not like firsthand. Oh, like I was shopping, for example, with my friend in a store. My friend is black, and even though I'm white, the guy was following us like the whole time. She was like going through the store looking for things, and the security guard, he wasn't even security, he was like the manager, but he was eyeing her especially. And she's like, hey Melanie, he's following me. And I didn't notice it because I just like, obviously like white privilege kind of thing, we don't really notice these things until, and I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, he is following us. We did a little test. We went to like the other side of the store and he followed us, and then we went to the other side of the store and he followed us. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like this actually happens. Like 2017 and people are still like, oh, black people are gonna steal, oh my gosh, gotta follow them around the stores, all this crap. And even other situations, oh my gosh, this is so bad. Like I'm just calling out these situations so people know that this happens still. But I was in the deli paying for my stuff. This happens a lot. I'll like go up to it could be because I'm like a woman too, but I go to the guy and I'm like, oh, I only have $1, I don't have $2. Like say you're buying something and you don't have enough money. And they're like, okay honey, it's okay, just take it. And then the same deli, the same guy who worked there's like a black guy that came in, did the same thing I did. Oh my gosh, I only have $1. Nope, sorry, can't, nope. like not acceptable, and then you made the guy leave.
So how do you think something like this could be combated or changed or anything like that? How do you think you address these issues?
Well, I think by just calling it out and like confronting the person, being like, hey, you know, like that's not cool. Like we need to stand up for when we see an injustice happen. It could be a little thing, it could be a big thing, but call it out and talk about it and question people and make them think, you know, why am I approaching people this way? Why am I judging them? You know, like what MLK is like, don't judge someone by the color of their skin, judge them by the content of their character, which is what we should be doing. We shouldn't just see someone and automatically assume they're gonna steal or they're gonna stab me or they're gonna attack me or they're gonna like do something because maybe it happened in the past once, but that doesn't mean every single person who looks like that is gonna do that to you. So you need to just keep that in mind. There's so many times in my life where like I see how I'm treated differently because of how I look, and it's so messed up, and I'm like, this, like, it's not okay.
Well, you don't try to, you know, burden yourself by, you know, like white privilege or anything like that. I mean, you're born how you're born. The question is, how do you, you know, present yourself? Are you humble with your attitude? Do you treat people the way you want to be treated? I mean, because you could be white, you could be black, it's still people want to be treated in a certain way. So people still should be treated with a certain level of dignity. I don't care what you like. Me as a black man, I mean, if I come across a white person or Asian person or Russian person or Mexican person and I'm treated as if I'm better than them, then I'm wrong regardless of how I'm being treated by other folks. You know, it is that golden rule. You treat others as you want to be treated. And I think that we forget to see each other as human beings first, you know, because when we don't, we do each other a disservice as humanity. How do we lift each other up if we're constantly tearing each other down, if we're constantly judging each other, if we're constantly looking at each other indifferently and not looking to understand? You know, you first seek to understand, then to be understood in any situation that you're dealing with. But many people at times, you know, they just put themselves in a situation where we have differences. The color of your skin, it's where you come from, it's how you talk, it's how much you make, the type of job you have, you know, who you're dating, whatever the case may be, you know. But the thing is, why not try to understand and find out where a person is coming from first?
Yeah, like get their story too. And you can judge someone for how much money they make. Like in New York all the time you'll meet someone and they kind of be like, oh, what do you do? You know, and they're like, oh, follow you on Instagram, see how many followers you have, see what kind of job you have, see how much money you make. And that's how they'll judge you and want to talk to you further of like,
well, you could judge
what
I'm
I can
broke,
get out of them, right?
You know?
And then it's like they can quickly just dismiss you like, oh, you don't have followers, you don't have this, you don't have money, you don't have that. It's like people can just write each other off first before even like knowing their story.
Well, if
and
you're
I
crazy,
feel like,
just write me off, you know.
Dude, oh yeah, and scientific, like science, because we were talking about this too.
See, now this is the controversy. This is where a lot of people are gonna.
This is the controversy.
Yeah.
So it's really true that we've had all these scientific breakthroughs, and it doesn't matter what the science says. Like Human Genome Project, I had a professor who was like, in the Human Genome Project, it was proven to us that like 0.01% is a difference of us biologically or like, genetically of skin color, and the rest of us is like, you know, we're all the human race. There's no divisions like that. But the thing is, what you said is how there's scientific breakthroughs, but there hasn't been scientific breakthroughs of the human heart and soul, and that just hit me. I was like, yes, because the thing is, it doesn't matter, like science can tell us whatever it wants to tell us, but that doesn't mean that people are going to accept that we're equals or that we're actually not that different. And I love what you said also about Ancestry.com is like some people can find out, like say you're really prejudiced toward a certain group and you do a DNA test and you find out that is actually within you. So you pretty much are hating yourself. Or what else did you say about that? I forgot.
Yeah, no. I mean, well, what else I said about it is just, it's simple. You know, you can't turn off what your color is. Just like with you, you know, you can't stop being white, but you're being treated a certain way because of how you
Unless that was Rachel, whatever her name is.
Yeah, no.
Oh my gosh.
I mean,
okay, let's not talk about that.
You can tan your skin, but it's not the same. It's just like me. You know, I can't stop being black after this video is over with. You know, however people are going to treat me, they're going to treat me based upon the color of my skin. That's just a reality. I mean, I know scientifically it says different things, and race is a construct created by humanity. I can hold this. You know, race is a construct.
I need a tripod.
Yeah, yes you do. Race is a construct created by humanity, you know, just, I guess, to have certain divisions amongst people. But the reality is who you are is who you are, you know, and how people treat you is how they're gonna treat you based off the color of your skin. I mean, as far as the All Lives Matter thing, it becomes offensive to those folks who say Black Lives Matter, because at the end of the day, you know, no offense to you, there doesn't have to be a White Lives Matter movement. It's not something where you have to prove that you matter. You know you matter. You've
Right,
been
like we
affirmed.
already are, like America's already catered towards us. It's how some people get mad about like BET and things like that. And I'm like, honestly, Hollywood is like white. Like if we didn't have
BET, I mean, this is where I'll get controversial. BET does have its connotation. I guess I can say this because I'm a black person. BET is separated things in a race standpoint because it's saying black entertainment television. But the reality of it is if you had a white entertainment television, it would be an issue as well. So
yeah,
it's just accepted more because of all the issues that black folks have gone through. So you say it's okay to have a black entertainment television. But the reality is, if you had a white entertainment television, people would be in an uproar.
But the thing is, it's not called white entertainment, but it's pretty much every other entertainment if you think about it,
Yeah, but it separates people in a racial standpoint because it's like, why do you have to say this is black entertainment? Or why do you have to say that's Hispanic? Or why do you have to say that's Asian? Because people feel the need to express themselves maybe because of how folks were treated or disenfranchised and stuff like that. And it's empowering in a sense, but at the same time, it causes divisions. And as it causes divisions, it has those unintended consequences where you want black people to be uplifted, but you're saying that totally our content and our voice is definitely different from you, but we live in the same humanity. We breathe the same air, we eat the same types of food, we live in the same types of cities. But there's issues that arise with, just economically, socially, spiritually, racially. And these are things that are not going away, but we separate from each other and we act like these things don't exist. And then they come down to our children, the generations that come upon, after us. And if we don't address these things and deal with them in a realistic way,
it just gets passed on to
it's a snowball effect.
So when are we gonna end this? What are the answers? Like how?
Well, I mean, I don't have all the answers. The answers
No one does, but I feel like we wish there was a way to just like erase racism, but
well, you're not, because of what exists in people's hearts. The thing that you try to do is that you spread love, you focus on the positives, you embrace each other in any setting that you can. Just like right now, we're talking and whatnot. I didn't know you before YouTube and whatnot.
Right.
I mean, you had no reason to have to come here. I'm a black person. Maybe you see me in the street
oh my
and
gosh,
you're scared.
I'm so scared. Oh.
I mean, I don't know. But I think how we begin to combat this stuff is, like you said, you call it out. That's one thing.
Yeah.
But also, too, you find reasons to come together as opposed to being apart.
And discuss it. And share it with the internet, too.
It's not so much just, I say discussing it is part of it. But I'm saying is really interacting with each other and beginning to understand each's culture and not being judgmental. I shouldn't judge you for being white or having white privilege. You shouldn't judge me for going through the black experience and expressing Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
First seek to understand, then to be understood in any situation. And I think that's the beginning of where you get to come to some kind of common ground as humanity. And I think people hold on to their prejudices and they hold on to their fears and their negativities is because it gives them identity. It helps them, to feel affirmed in whoever they are. And that's not doing any of us any service. Maybe you're a segment of that community, but at the end of the day, if you want humanity to be better, you have to look at humanity as a whole and not just a segment of society. Right. That's just my 2 cents on it.
That's true. It's like we try to split each other up and like, it's also, I was thinking what Brene Brown said, it's like, we are not wired, like no one's born racist, but we like dehumanize people to make it okay. And we're still in this like, I don't know why people are still like this, still. It's like, and then we don't want to talk about things. And I think that's a problem too. It's like, yes, we should like have action and love people and get to know people and talk about people in person too, not just like on the internet, to like get to know who someone actually is and not like what you think they are. Because also on social media, people portray an image of what they might want you to think, and you could judge someone based on like all their pictures, but that's not actually who they are as a person. So like actually getting to know people in person and like talking to them, getting to know their stories and like their struggles that you might have never experienced, and just seeking a better understanding, I guess, of each other.
And I'll say this, I guess, before you go. There are people who profit from, different people being divided. Let's not be, ignorant of it. There may be, militant folks on both sides, be it you black, be it you white nationalists, be it you, black militant individual. I mean, there are people who stand to keep folks separated, because maybe this is how they keep control over their segment and their swath of a community.
It's all about like power. And power and pride is a really, really huge problem in this country. Like greed, pride, power is just like, it's so toxic.
racism, you know, I mean,
racism, yeah. And everyone like has their agenda that they want to feed into.
yeah, and there's definitely a whole bunch of agendas. But I'm gonna let you wrap this up because this is
I'm
your
trying
channel.
to, yeah, this is getting long. This is like how all my videos go, is like I'll just literally turn on the camera and just like talk and talk and talk. I feel like I don't want to forget anything else I was gonna say.
Well, that's why I could film some part from my channel if you want to do something. You
True,
know.
go to Mel's channel. I'll link it below and I'll link it at the end too. Mel is gonna live stream.
Yeah.
This is happening. I've never live streamed before because I'm always so nervous too, because I can't edit it and I can't, it's just so nerve-wracking to be like on the spot.
I forgot
Oh my
I forgot how to spell your name again.
Melanie.
Melanie.
This is happening live from New York.
Oh.
Thank you so much for sitting down and having this conversation.
Well, thank
Tough
you for having me.
conversations. Subscribe to both of our channels. I'll leave the links below.
Yeah.
And thank you everyone so much for watching. Please check out, we actually just filmed a live stream and it went pretty well. So
It was great.
check out Mel's channel for that.